Are you ready for a prophetic adventure? Are you ready for extreme faith combined with extreme sport? This is Prayer Walk, where we follow a courageous woman that has set out to walk all across the borders of Norway to pray for the land. And yes, the nature and the weather in Norway is not tamed, so this is going to be a real challenge. And if you want to follow that journey, then I will be reporting on the real struggles, the tears, the challenges, the joys, the blessings and breakthroughs every Sunday. So stay tuned. It is May the 13th and it is still 2018. I'm back in studio. I've had a break, and the reason for that break is that I've been in Turkey. And I go regularly to Turkey, even though I live in Norway, to, be good to my body. It's my medicine, it's my recreation, and basically for my health, I should be living there. On the other hand, I love Norway. And so I'm back and I'm in my studio and I'm going to report on, the prayer walk, how it's going, what's going on in this nation, and what can you get from it? How can you be inspired by it? My name is Emmanuel, and this is Prayer Walk. I hope you will enjoy it. So basically, since I've been gone, Janne Christine, which is a prayer walker, she has also been kind of like gone. She's been very busy as well. She has been having a job in a different place than where she lives because she moved to, this place up in the mountains to be there, to be present and to walk out in the mountains and all of this. And she has been doing that regularly, but she couldn't get a job locally. She was promised to get one, but then they realized she was a Christian and it seemed as if she lost the opportunity for that reason. However, she's been invited to different places to work in other ways because she has to have some income as well. And she's been working on a bacalao factory, making, exotic food. Well, I don't think she's been doing that, but she's been part of the process of packing, I suppose. And then now she's moving on to receive lambs, like in a big farm with lots of sheep up in the mountains receiving lambs, like being a midwife, which is a symbolic and wonderful and beautiful thing. At the same time, I do believe it can be very exhausting because you can't really sleep. You just spend your day and your night. Whenever it's time, you have to be there. Anyway, that's what Janne Christine has been doing. So she hasn't been that much able to focus on, the radio and sharing stuff lately either. But we're still here and we're still focusing on the topic. And there's joys, there's breakthroughs, and there's always some challenges as well. And sometimes those challenges are so severe or so long-lasting that you wonder, is this ever gonna lead anywhere? And that is a little bit how Janne Christine has been feeling. She's been wondering, am I really on the right track? I mean, doors are not just opening and trumpets are playing and everybody is there and I have this fantastic economy and people are giving me cars and everything is so good because I'm doing the will of God. And in that moment, you may wonder, anybody who's trying to follow God may come in that situation and wonder, okay, I felt led to do this, I felt called to do this, but what happened when I did it? Perhaps nothing happened. Perhaps just more opposition came, or, you came a little way, but then it stopped. And so, was it not of God? Or is God testing us? Or is it so that the definition of God is that we are successful in our eyes? Perhaps it isn't that way. If we look in the Old Testament and the New Testament, especially New Testament with the disciples, we know that they received the glory of God, the salvation. They were so close to Christ. Who else were deserving of his, gift, his mercy, his good things that he had promised, not only them, but all of us. But what happened? Did they get famous and rich and all the doors opened and everything was fine, nobody was suffering, and they lived happily ever after? I don't think you can say that if you read the Bible. All of them got killed. All of them got persecuted. Maybe they got what they needed, but they kept coming into trouble all the time. They survived, but I'm not sure if we were in their shoes that we would say, oh, we are having so much success and God is opening and God is doing this and that. Quite opposite, perhaps. A lot of us would have been in that situation and we would have started saying, oh boy, I think this is the wrong way. I don't feel blessed in this. I don't have peace about this. Really, perhaps I should do more like the other ones. Those are happy. Those have lots of money and houses and everything is fine. I think I should just shut up. Or I should, adjust the message a little bit, make it a little bit more so that people like it. Peace. Now that's something to think about. So we have been pondering about that, or at least Janne Christine, she's gone through, a heap of thoughts in that direction. Is God's success, is God's path decorated with gifts and promotion? Or is it a hard path where you may have holes in your shoes and your car is breaking down and your phone is breaking down and everything is problematic? Well, and then you get rescued out of it, but still, not just a smooth path. Am I doing something wrong? What? How? All of these questions come. And I do believe that the conclusion is, and I do believe that we all can learn from this, that God's definition of success is not necessarily even close to ours. And us walking on this path and following a calling doesn't mean that it will lead to the result that we expected. It doesn't mean that we understood God wrongly or that we went out on something that was not called, that we were called to do. But it just means that we don't really know what the result is going to be, how it's going to look like, because God is God. He has so many flavors, so many aspects, so many layers, and what we think of as a disaster, as a failure, may be something great for the kingdom. So how can I say that? Well, surely I can say that when we look at the life of the disciples, and most of all, the life of Christ. Success in our eyes would be that he became the king and famous and everybody liked him and they wanted to be with him and be one with God, and he was elevated and respected and treated well. Now that didn't happen, did it? So we got quite a bit of things to consider, and for those who proclaim that God's favor, like that God is with you only if you see promotion, if things are going the way that the world or you think it should go, to them I have a question. Where's your cross? And I also have another question, and that is, would you do what you do if you didn't get the favor, if you didn't get the promotion, the fame, the money, that whatever it is giving? Let's say you're doing something, you're doing it for a long time, and it doesn't bring any of the things that you were expecting. Even if it was just to be able to reach people, even if it was just to be able to do something for God, but it didn't work. But you still really felt that it was God's calling, and let's say it was, but it doesn't bring the fruits. You're going to wonder, Am I doing the wrong thing because it's not bringing fruits, or the fruits that I expected? Or is it really bringing fruits, but in a different way? So, if you wouldn't do it, if you didn't get the goodies, the candy, the good stuff like money, like, respect or adoration or the glamour, that kind of thing that follows, or the power, the influence that you can use your own ego to, boss around with, would you do what you do if you didn't get any of that? That's a serious question, because if you didn't want to do it then are you really doing it for God? You may be, talking about God all the time. You may be proclaiming things that is about God. You may have an initial desire to do it for God, but really, when it comes to it, are you doing it for God, or are you doing it for the promotion and for the developments that it is bringing? Now, I'm being a little bit stern right now. I'm not talking to you, accusing you of doing anything that is not right, but I'm just saying these are the questions that we all have to ask ourselves, and not only for ourselves, but for those who teach, for those who are walking the walk and proclaiming that they are doing it the right way. Maybe they are, and maybe they are not. So these are ways that we have to reconsider and not just see with the eyes of the world. And that is some of the things that's been going on here in Janne Christine's life and in the prayer walk. And then there's another thing that's been going on in Norway that I think is just amazing. And that is, there's been this fever all over the country. They are obsessed with plastic. There's been a lot of TV shows and things going on promoting, not promoting, but making people aware of the problems of plastic and how it ends up in the sea and how it is hurting the animals and things like that. And so as a result of that, it's been going on for a year with different kinds of programs. And now they are using the media for good stuff. Finally, instead of telling all the bad news, they are telling, okay, here's a problem. Now let's go do something about it. And they've been using the media, the state media, different kinds of channels to activate people for a good cause. And we have a word in Norway called dugnad. And it means when people work together for free for a common cause, whether it is to restore somebody's house or it is for just the nature and the village, but it is people coming together, just helping each other out. And that's what's been going on. I took a trip. I was traveling. I was sitting in a car for maybe 2 or 3 hours, and we were going through landscapes with not much people at all. And during that trip, I think we ran into 5 teams of people with green big plastic bags gathering plastic garbage along the road. 5 teams, not just in one place, but one here and then, half an hour and a different one. Everywhere there were people picking garbage. So people went out in the nature and valued what God had created, and no matter what their faith is, they are making a big statement that this matters to us. We value what you have given us. Even if they don't believe in God, they do value it, and they speak it through action. Now we can do even better. Where you live, whether you live in Norway or not, what you have been given, the earth, the place that you are living, that's a precious gift that God has given you. And so, we can go out and we can pray and bless the land. And by doing that, we also get exercise, and it's good for our body. But on top of that, we can pick up garbage, plastic, and stuff that is polluting this planet and help out make it a better place. And that is faith put to action. We are acting, we are saying, okay, we love this place. God, please cleanse it, please elevate it. And as we do that, we remove some of the garbage. And when we do that, we can make it not only be a physical thing, it can be a symbolic and prophetic thing. Let's remove the garbage in our neighborhoods. I love that kind of thing. And so I also had a different tiny little experience that has nothing to do with plastic. But while I was in Turkey, I had a conversation with my mom. I had a conversation with Janne Christine. I had conversation with different people down there that were Norwegian. And we've had this little communication on Facebook before that, a friend of mine, she went out shopping in Norway. She's a 65-year-old lady. And so she just rang me to basically talk about the bill because it ended up being very expensive. But it was just so peculiar. So I posted it on Facebook and I got a lot of comments because my question was, okay, a Norwegian lady goes out for shopping. What does she buy? And I got some, suggestions that perhaps she went out to buy an umbrella or things like that because it's raining a lot here. But the real answer was she went out and bought a chainsaw, a wood cleaver, and just all kinds of heavy, special tools, expensive and electric tools that is not very common for women to buy or use or even know how to use. But it was all natural for this woman. She grew up on a farm and, who else was going to be doing it? She was single. And as she told me these things, it just reminded me like, oh, you're just like my mom, She's the best handyman in my family. And, all of these kind of tools is kind of like her treasures. She loves it. And so while I was in Turkey, I was working with my stuff because in Turkey, I have a different health than I do in Norway. So I can be active and do all kinds of things that I cannot do in my own nation. That's a different story. But anyway, I was out being a mini mason. I was fixing, the stone wall. I was laying tiles. I was painting. And I was being this kind of like a handyman sort of thing. And then I got a message from my mom. And she was up in her cottage in Norway, emptying they have this special toilet sort of thing and painting and doing all kinds of not ladylike things. And then a little bit later, I got a message from Janne Christine. She was so happy because she just got the chance to borrow a chainsaw. And so she was cutting up wood and preparing for next year. And it was just, well, everybody was happy. And I had my Norwegian friend down there in Turkey and she was doing some other insane stuff. So it was just all normal for us. And I had to giggle because there is something about the Viking spirit in Norway. We, the women, back in the old days, when the Vikings went out, but also later on when the fishermen, because people in Norway have been living by ships and fishing and oil and all kinds of stuff like that for ages. And so the men left. They went out maybe for 2 years at the time. And so there was no chance for women to sit in the house and just do sewing and dust cleaning. I mean, they had to take care of the farm and the kids and the house and everything. They had to learn everything. And basically that made them strong and independent, and it's still with them. You don't go back when you've had all of that and it's natural. You don't go back to thinking that, oh, I can't do anything because I'm a woman. So I just had this little giggle with all these women that were doing all these kind of things that is not so typical ladylike, and it's so natural. And it's not that we don't want men to be strong. We want all to be strong. We want everyone to be heroes and step up wherever it's needed. And if it is needed in this area, if it's needed to take care of kids and cooking, well, then we do that. If it is needed out in the woods and fixing houses, well, then we do what it takes. Anyway, that is just my little peculiar thing, and it's not very prayer walk-ish But on the other hand, Jana Christine is a lady. If she was to submit and be only what some people think, this whole thing wouldn't be going on. And that goes for me as well. I shouldn't be doing this according to some people, but we do. Because it is needed. And even if even if nobody else would do certain things, even the rocks or the donkeys would cry out. So, come on, let's just do what it takes and help each other. For God is our focus, and we want Him to take control, and that's where we are going. So, I just got to say thank you to Kevin MacLeod for the music that I'm playing. It's free licensed music from incompetech.com. I also got to thank George, who's sitting in Florida and helps me editing. Thank you to Jana Christine, that is doing the prayer walk thing, and she's also improving her experience on the TV shows that she's being constantly invited to, so it's growing. And then I also have to say I'm back next week. It's gonna be on Sunday at 10 a.m. US Pacific time, 1 p.m. in Florida, 18 o'clock in UK London, and that means 19 o'clock in Central Europe. I love you. God loves you that much more. And I'll see you soon. freelegions.com. That's where you find me. Take care.